So it's looking increasingly like it's going to be a Trump versus Biden showdown later on this year. How do you see that panning out?
So if you look at the polls, there was one that was ballyhooed a few days ago in the New York Times that had Trump up by 5. There were a couple out today that had Biden up. There's YouGov, Morning Consult. These are pollsters that are basically doing daily polls and that had Biden up a point or two. Look, I think it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to come down to the few swing states, probably the ones that your audience knows full well, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, particularly probably Georgia and Arizona, maybe North Carolina. And it's no more complicated than that. It means that most of the country of the United States is frankly not the target of what these campaigns are going to throw at them. And I think in all those states, it will be very, very, very close. And honestly, I think does the fact that the economy is doing so well, crazy high job creation numbers, inflation now 2/3 down from what it was at its peak and seemingly dropping. Does that register? Stock market at all-time highs. Does that register, or is it still this kind of grumpiness from COVID that is kind of overtaking people?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are pouring a bit of cold water anyway over the job creation side of it. I think there was a lot of unemployment due to COVID and now some people getting back into work. So I suppose people can maybe massage some of those figures any way they want, can't they? But when it comes to America as a whole, all right, is it fair to say that you guys have got a choice between someone who might be facing a prison sentence and someone who can't formulate a sentence?
Yeah. So your audience is probably familiar with the fact that just recently, Donald Trump mistook Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley, that he said we might in the future get into World War II. He said that he beat Barack Obama in 2016. So when you say can't formulate a sentence, you're talking about Trump? Because you could be excused if you were. I understand it's very topical these days to talk about Biden's age. You saw the poll just the other day. 6 in 10 voters thought that both Trump and Biden were too old. So I think it's going to come down to old and crazy versus old and effective. And I think the latter, which is Biden, is ultimately going to be what the country rallies behind, as it has, frankly, ever since 2016, when the voters have kind of rejected the MAGA Trump approach to things.
Is that fair, though? Because apparently only 28% of Democrats, a new survey here by the New York Times, expressed actual enthusiasm about Biden running again. Apparently 38% flatly said that Biden shouldn't be their nominee. I mean, I don't think there is massive pro-Biden appetite. I do understand that you've picked out some examples from Trump there, obviously, fair enough. But, you know, Donald Trump hasn't been the one falling down aeroplane stairs and forgetting which day of the week it is he?
Donald Trump said while he was president that an American invented the wheel. Donald Trump just this past weekend garbled words in ways, frankly, that did raise questions. If you didn't show it, your audience should see him going China and Russia and he literally couldn't quite formulate English words. So. I understand.
I do understand what you're saying, Rich. I do understand what you're saying with respect, but I think you're doing a valiant job. I think it is actually quite common knowledge, though, that Joe Biden is exhibiting more visible signs of cognitive decline than President Trump. And with that in mind, only 28% of Democrats apparently actually have enthusiasm about Biden running again. I mean, that's not a great return for Joe Biden, is it?
A year ago at the State of the Union address, when the Republicans in Congress were taunting Biden, unscripted, no teleprompter, no notes. He made them look like fools. That's not what a demented person is capable of doing. So people can make fun of Biden all they want, but when the lights are on, they actually see him governing effectively. They see him pulling together the coalition to stand up to Putin effectively, where Trump is saying to the Russia, knock yourself out, take on these European NATO allies. I mean, does your audience think that's a good thing? Is that what a sound thinking person says? So, yes, I hear what you're saying about the polls. And I think there's still a lot of Democrats who think maybe it won't even be Biden. But when it is, and it will be Biden against Trump, I think ultimately they will decide that having Trump back in the White House is something they cannot abide.
So you're absolutely convinced that Joe Biden will go for a second term then? You don't think they're going to parachute in Michelle Obama at the last minute?
Yeah. I think that people who think that are watching too much Fox News. I think, that, in fact, I've seen betting odds. I would love to put down money against the prospect of Michelle Obama, frankly, or any other Democrat being the Democratic nominee. It will be Biden. I understand why people somehow have this fantasy, as there are, frankly, on the Republican side, because of Trump's legal problems and his cognitive decline, that they might be somebody else. But it's not. It's going to be Trump and
Biden would
Biden.
Survive a second term? Do you think Biden will survive a second term? Because that is a consideration for people as well. Because I suppose then it becomes about the vice president, etc. And if we're looking at the Joe Biden vice president at the moment, I'm not sure that inspires a huge amount of confidence. And unfortunately, that is a consideration for people, right?